just finishing up law school at UW and has worked as legal counsel to Governor Walker and now has a tree dedication business you're working on, entrepreneurial service as well.
Yeah, this is one of my projects. I consider myself to be my goal is to be a businessman. I've worked in law, I've worked in government, and I'm here to create a new voice for Wisconsin. That's been the new thing. I've been walking around. I was in Mason Maney yesterday. I was in
the assembly. It's called,
right.
What number is it? The number
this is the 81st.
81st is Sauk City and Mazo and
Portage.
Portage. It's kind of been moved around a little bit. It's more of a suburban district than it once was.
It's a combination of the old 42nd, 47th, 50th, 51st, and 81st.
Nobody knows the numbers.
Yeah.
But it's Sauk City. Your home, Baraboo is your home, right?
Right. I grew up in Baraboo, Wisconsin, went to grade school, high school there, and then I left and went to college for a little while in Milwaukee, graduated from Madison, and then finishing up law school in Madison.
Now, you're 24. When I was 24, I was doing other things, I have to confess, and probably not something I can even talk about on the radio all the time. But you've got the family already going, and you want to run for office. The old adage is, if you're not liberal when you're young, you have no heart. You're not conservative when you're old, you have no brain. But it sounds like you've been conservative for a long time.
Sure. I mean, I'm going to hit this issue up front, and I'm going to go out there and say that there's no age on good ideas. I'm coming out with a new voice. I'm trying to provide this new voice for Wisconsin, and people are very receptive to that message. I think people are sick of the political bickering. I think people are sick of the most politicians are out there for themselves. I think that the fact is we need some people.
You figure that out, Austin, already.
Right. We need some people in there with new ideas, the ability to come out there with some strength and conviction, and I think that people are ready for some change.
Well, now, you are a small government guy, right? I mean, are you a libertarian streak, or are you traditional conservative? What's the deal there?
You know what? I'm more of a traditional conservative. I believe that the 81st, for example, I was in Baraboo speaking last night for my announcement, and we were talking about just what's going on. It's the city. We talked about Ronald Reagan, and we talked about his speech. And
you weren't even alive. Well, it's okay. I'm not being smart. Go ahead.
Sure. His speech and his speech of his dream of a city on a hill. And we were talking about our dream of a city through the hills in Baraboo, where we can have some protections, some separation from Madison and from state intrusion upon the locality. And to go into the whole age thing just a little bit further, we have one of our great leaders here in the state. We have a history of electing people with new ideas who are a little bit younger than average. We have Governor Thompson, who was elected a few years younger than me to the state assembly. We have Paul Ryan, who was elected to the United States Congress, in my same age. So I don't think that there's an age or a number on good ideas.
No, I mean, I think it's great. When I was your age, I was into these issues, but I was also into bars and other people and, playing golf. Anyway.
And you're still not?
Well, now I'm kind of slowed down with the stroke, but that's another story. No, stay healthy, stay young, you'll be fine. So now we see this story at a Marshfield clinic, because I know you're not in favor of Obamacare, correct?
That is correct.
The Marshfield clinic announced Wednesday in an email to employees budget cuts that will affect salaries and employees' benefits. The email outlined the budget cuts effective April 1 through September 30, including a 5% pay cut for doctors and employees who make more than $125. Well, okay. Elimination of a 2% staff salary raise previously scheduled for April 1, and discontinuance of a 1% 401k match. Marshfield Clinic President Dr. Brian Ewert said the cuts, which will save the clinic about $13 million, were designed to have a fairly immediate impact on keeping the current fiscal year budget on track. They say it's because of these high-deductible health care plans. It's cut down on demand, where it's not uncommon to have a health care deductible now of $5,000, which is seemingly part of a family's budget. So they're paying out of pocket up to that much, so they're going to the doctor less. So their revenues are down, which I think it doesn't take a rocket scientist to believe that there's a cause and effect on that. I've talked about my own drugs. We all have our stories to tell. But isn't the key issue here where the rubber meets the road, if you're better off, worse off, or the same because of Obamacare?
Sure. I mean, all of these things that are coming out, these issues, these problems with the bill, with Obamacare, it's not that surprising. I'm pretty sure if somebody would have asked me, you, a lot of us a few years ago, what is this bill going to look like? How is it going to play out in practice? We would have said, well, it's going to be an utter failure. It's built on sand. And I think a lot of these issues, there's ways to do it. These issues with the high deductibles, these are all stories. These are all part of a narrative that's being phrased at this time that we can show that, you know what, this stuff isn't working. Some of these plans, and this is something a little bit different.
Okay, but go ahead now. I'll have the tough follow-up in a minute.
Sure.
Finish. Go ahead and finish the point.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, well, the point is, okay, what is the alternative? Because Ted Cruz was on CNN, and he was trying to stop Obamacare and the shutdown. They said, well, what's your plan? He didn't have one. So, I mean, the point of it is we had people, 15% of the population who didn't have insurance. We had people who had high risk and pre-existing conditions, whether it's prostate cancer or breast cancer, they couldn't get insurance that was affordable because of their risk. So they do this to correct what could have been corrected, in my view, a long time ago with the high-risk pool, which you could subsidize. But they don't listen to me, and they listen to Congressman Ryan, who has a similar plan. So what would you do to replace what we have now?
Well, I think that we're at a point where it's going to be very, very difficult to get rid of the system we have. I mean, we all know that when anything goes into place, it's very tough to get rid of it. And it's about, so we could go back and look at solutions then, but now the question is, what do we do going forward?
Well, do you agree with the governor that we should have refused the Medicaid money for the state, on the federal Medicaid money, which he didn't take?
I support the governor's decisions at the time, and I think they were the right decisions. I think that we should keep progressing and continue with our ideas and consider all options at the time. And the problem now is that all of these mandates there's so many strings attached. This isn't about, here's some free money, go apply it, go help your people. This is a mandate. This is, here's some money, take it and spend it today, and then you're going to be required to spend it out of your own pocket into the
down the road,
into the infinite future.
Which is what he argues,
Right.
Which is going to be an issue in that big campaign. So, okay, you're running for the Assembly. We'll come back with what's affecting your area and the big issues in the state in 2014 with our 24-year-old candidate for Assembly. And, we'll come back in a minute. Just my thoughts are astray. It's outside the box.
Better hockey plays here.
Goes back to Sanger lead, puts it in.
And my neck is bigger than your waist, and it's part of the deal. Go ahead.
It's going to be a question to people, but one of the things that I'm bringing about is new ideas. And a lot of people
Give me a new idea.
When I was walking around Baraboo, I was pulled into a better example, barbershop in Sauk City, and I met with some older gentlemen, and they're talking like, what do you stand for? Like, what? We are so sick of politics. We're sick of politicians coming in here and telling us that they're going to do something and telling us that, you know what, we're going to help you. And then just going to Madison, going to Washington, doing nothing. And what I can do is, working in law, I have the ability to draft legislation. I'm pretty good at it. I am going to be putting on my website every 3 weeks a few pieces of draft legislation so people can actually look at plans. I'm not a man of, we've gotten too much stuff for being the party of no. I want to bring about new solutions and actual solutions, alternatives.
Now, party of no, you're Republicans, right? I mean, Rush Limbaugh was on the show yesterday saying, well, if you say you're against something that says what you're for. So this whole party of no, you're saying, well, I'm against that, which is what Reagan did, what Margaret Thatcher did back in the day. I mean, you're basically staking out a position by saying I'm against that.
Sure, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there's something wrong with being against something and not for an alternative. And you can be against something and have your alternative be nothing. Your alternative can be to just get rid of a program and cut some government. But when you just say, you know what, I am against that bill or I'm against that program and nothing further, it's very tough to convince the man on the street of that.
In 2014, the election will be about, a lot of it, one of the issues will be about job creation, because we lost jobs in the last administration. The recession was going on and so forth, and late in the recession, and then we had Jobs now aren't growing as fast as what Governor Walker promised when he ran. He wanted to create 250,000 jobs.